Hello and welcome to Roman Roads Press. I would like to walk through what Old Western culture is in a very practical, hands-on way. What you have here is the first unit, or one of 16 units in the Old Western Culture Great Books curriculum. So this is it's one of 16 because Old Western culture is divided into 4 years of study or units of study: the Greeks, the Romans, Christendom, and early moderns. So this would, and then each year is divided into 4 units. So this would be Unit 1, the epics. Year 1, the Greeks, has the epics, drama and lyric, the histories, and then the philosophers. So the reason we divide them into subunits, we don't just sell them by year, level 1 or year 1, is because we want these to be very flexible to what you're doing in your own home school or in your school. So there, for example, some students or families may want to study the epics, both the Greek and Roman together, or the Roman and the Greek histories together, or it divides in different ways. Old Western culture is very flexible. So what's in a unit? Well, first of all, the Old Western culture curriculum, it does not have a traditional textbook. The textbook is the video course. It is a video-centric, lecture-based curriculum. And so here we have a DVD. We still carry DVDs. It's a means to purchase the product, have it on your shelf. We may upgrade to Blu-ray at one point, but the best way to use it is the streaming, which is why you can buy the course without the DVD, but you can't buy it without the streaming. The streaming is always included. If you have the DVD, you get the streaming. And that is the easiest way to use it, but this is a great backup, or if you have bad internet. So the video course is the core of the course. When you purchase the video course, you get access to everything here in digital format. We don't recommend reading the Iliad and the Odyssey, or any of our readers, straight from a PDF. It's a lot of reading. Some people do it, and that's fine, but that's a lot of reading on a screen. And so, but neither do we require our readers. You get the PDF when you purchase the course, which is great for research. That control find on a PDF, if you're doing a research paper, is great. But we do recommend some kind of a physical edition, whether it's our edition or whether you already own the Iliad and the Odyssey. We don't require a specific edition, which does cut down costs for some parents. However, our editions are very convenient. There are certain units. Let me see if I have here we go, the poetry and politics, as well as the drama and lyric are 2 great examples. Drama and lyric was actually the first one we created because you had to buy 10 books that you only read 10 to 20% of each one on average in order to have all the books required. So that would be a unit where, unless you have all these books already, this is the better way to get it. Okay, so back to what's in a unit. The video course is sort of the central, which is that you get everything when you purchase the video course in digital format, including, what's not shown here, exams for each unit, an A and B exam, as well as a teacher's grading guide. The second is the workbook. The workbook is, there's a, let's see, at the beginning, there's a suggested 9-week schedule. This is a recommended schedule. This is self-paced, which means, how do you start Old Western culture? You start by, if you're using the DVDs, popping in that first DVD. If you're using the video course, watching lecture 1, if you're using the online. At the end of the lecture, you get the instructions for the next step. Wes Callahan, or one of our authors, will say, for the next lecture, and give you an assignment, generally something to read. So it might say, read books 1 through 4 of the Iliad to prepare for the next lecture. And he'll give other instructions like, be watching for this, how to read. There are instructions there. After you have read or watched a lecture, there are lecture and reading questions, comprehension questions. These are fairly easy and mostly to make sure that students are tracking, but we also recommend that parents use these as guides for discussion. So whether you're just doing this with your children or multiple siblings or in a co-op or in a school, we really recommend the flipped classroom or the classical recitation method. And the way you would do that is you would read this, maybe the teacher or one of the students reads this aloud. According to C.S. Lewis, why should we read old books? You can answer the question here, and there is an answer key at the back, which is a suggested simple answer. But what is far better, and how we recommend it, is that this becomes a discussion. Use the lines here to perhaps keep notes of the discussion. to discuss why should we read old books? That's the first question you get. And that is a really fundamental question if you're going to be reading a lot of old books. So you could spend a whole hour on that discussion, and that would not be time wasted. As Wes Callahan is famous for saying, the rabbit trail is the point. The digression, the digressio, is the point. So it's a method of teaching that we recommend. So a unit of Old Western culture has these components along with the exam and is always 12 lectures long. So these 12 lectures walk you through the great books. There's generally an introductory lecture or two, and then you're just walking through the great books. You can use this curriculum where you're just watching the videos for that vast overview of Old Western culture. A lot of parents who want their kids to have this education before they graduate but are already in 10th grade, you either do that or do our essential schedule. Our essential schedule has you go through the full curriculum in the video course, but only watch only read some of the actual great books. So there are 16 of these, 4 per year if you're doing the full program. If you're doing the essential schedule, you'll be doing less reading. This is, by the way, I think one of our thickest readers. It has the Iliad and the Odyssey on the fairly thick paper. So this looks imposing, but a book of the Iliad or the Odyssey can be read aloud, as Wes Callahan recommends, in about 45 minutes. And so our reading load looks very imposing, very impressive, but we have had countless parents who were concerned about the reading load find that it is not only doable, but truly transformative for their children who are not always strong readers. We even had an inner city co-op group that we were requesting our essentials schedule. This was before we developed it. We developed it partly based on their request. And they came back a year later and said, never mind, the kids are asking for more. So there really is the transformative power of these great stories. And if the amount of reading seems daunting, I encourage you to give it a try, a consistent try, and don't be afraid to go slower. One of the things about the Unit 1 is it really is one of the heavier units. It makes sense to start here because it is chronological. It is the Iliad and the Odyssey. That is the foundation. But there is a sense in which you're getting thrown in the deep end here. So don't be discouraged if you take more than 9 weeks to go through Unit 1. Don't be discouraged. Maybe just read the Iliad or the Odyssey and watch the lectures for them and give an overview. That's what the essential schedule would have you do. But don't be discouraged. You do learn how to read going through this program. You will end up being a different kind of reader as well going through this program. So there's a quick little overview. Much more can be said. We love answering your questions. So ask them in the comments, send us a message. Specific questions I might answer on video, but we would love to hear from you and hear your questions and hear how it's going. We recently did our giveaway in which we heard dozens of parents who were commenting about the giveaway, saying how they had used our various curriculum, especially Old Western culture, and what it had done for their family. So we love to hear from our families how they're using it and how it's blessing their family. Thank you so much, and inherit the humanities in your home. That's our motto, and this is one of the primary tools to do it, but all our curriculum embodies that mission of inheriting the humanities in the home. Thank you so much.
Milton's Paradise Lost is the last great epic in the Western tradition. And we know that he had first intended to write an epic about the Arthurian legend. And Milton thought he could set his sights a little bit higher and write something with a more cosmic scope. And so he decided to write about the fall of man in the Garden of Eden. The metaphysical poets came up with what are called conceits, that is, analogies or metaphors that are unusual, that even take some work to figure out. They're creative, they're different, they're kind of mind-bending sometimes.
Shakespeare has given us a play that shows justice opening up into mercy, the letter of the law being enforced so that mercy can season justice.
The British Empire controls something like 75% of the landmass of the planet. liberty, equality, fraternity. Liberty is all very well, but you cannot talk about whether liberty is good or bad without saying when and for whom. The Romantic movement, a privileged, instead of reason, emotion, intuition, imagination as sources for meaning, truth, and significance.
The scientific revolution was really a continuation of Plato's project of describing the physical universe with mathematics. But it wasn't until Isaac Newton invented calculus that this Pythagorean Platonic project could really take off. Indeed, Newton was the culmination of the scientific revolution, and he was also the fulfillment of Plato's Pythagorean dream. Reason became the new authority, sometimes above the church, and certainly above Aristotle. And so the scientific revolution of the 1600s sparked the Enlightenment of the 1700s, an intellectual movement that has largely shaped our culture today.
Dickens deliberately wanted to change people's hearts about how they treated people, and he used Christmas to make people be more sensible and sensitive to those around them. All of her novels are about the doings of people in the countryside and rural areas in England, their relationships, their small concerns on a small local level. But that's what makes them so delightful and so timeless. One of the reasons this is the most famous chapter in the story is because this sort of encapsulates what may be Dostoevsky's answer, his answer to the problem of evil. The answer doesn't come with our intellectual arguments. Remember what Edmund Burke said about the wisdom that comes from generations upon generations, from a nation or a culture growing slowly over time and developing a wisdom that's greater in its cumulative size than any one human lifetime could ever achieve.